Need a winter holiday escape? Forget your cares in Fiji. White sand beaches and scuba diving are calling. Your tropical paradise getaway is just one nonstop Fiji Airways flight away. With round-trip fares starting at $899 from LAX or SFO. Or check out great fares to Australia and New Zealand with seamless connections via Fiji. Book now at FijiAirways.com. From here to happiness, flying direct with Fiji Airways.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Welcome, friends. It's the MovieFilm Podcast. The MovieFilm Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to a movie film commentary track. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I'm here with Brian Hall.
Don't you mean Spaceballs, the commentary?
That's better. Merchandising.
Exactly. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited to go through Spaceballs with you. This is one of those sort of like staples, right, for the two of us growing up, and so I'm excited to just kind of kick back and chat our way through it.
This has been one of our most requested commentary tracks, so I'm happy to fulfill the requests of those 1.5 people who have requested. It's our most requested. But I'm excited. Any chance to revisit this movie, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that you and I are watching this together.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, this was like a sleepover staple growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like in sort of a weird way, I feel like I share a bond with this movie with everyone. You know?
Well, we are about to watch Spaceballs. There is only one cut, but if you want to watch along with us, you can go ahead and get that queued up while we take a short commercial break.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And we're back, and we're ready to go. Brian, you queued up?
I'm all queued up.
All right, so we will hit play on 3. And like I said, if you want to watch along with us, you can. If not, hopefully we'll keep it engaging enough to hold your interest. So 1, 2, 3, play.
All right.
So how about that lion, Brian?
Love it.
So Spaceballs is owned by Amazon now.
Right.
That's what that means.
Right. Which, I mean, that's the thing, right? These days, everything eventually gets to be owned by everyone at some point, right?
Just we're all being batted around by massive mega corporations.
Everything eventually exchanges hands until it will all be owned by one giant corporation. Something dystopian called Glub, I imagine.
Glub.
Oh, all hail Glub.
I want a T-shirt. I want a movie film T-shirt called "All Hail Glub." Like that'll be our like the lingo of our listeners. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Right?
I love that.
So, are you hearing this music in your head as we're watching this on mute?
Oh, absolutely. Sort of Star Wars marchy, but with like lasers, like pew,
Pew pew
like,
pew.
yes.
I love this. I have the soundtrack. I listen to it all the time.
Yeah, it's a good score.
The theme is a bit of an earworm, in my opinion.
Totally. I kind of I appreciate this mixture, the combination here with the text at the beginning. You have like the blue letters from Star Wars's, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but they have used it for the crawl, right? Which would normally be yellow in Star Wars. And I mean, look, when you're like 8 years old and watching this, and the crawl ends with "If you can read this, you don't need glasses." That is the height of comedy.
Really.
Right.
It's this movie. It's funny because we were both roughly the same age when we first saw it, and it was not only the height of comedy. I don't know about you, but like it was a little risque.
Yeah, you're so right. I kind of forgot about that angle of it because it feels so tame now. But you're so right.
Now it's just good wholesome fun. But I remember back then, like when he's looking at his butt, he's like, how come no one told me my ass was so big? You're like, ooh.
Yeah, that's so true.
Naughty.
Yeah, I mean, this was like peak sleepover movie, and you're so right. Like because it's material that we are interested in, and it's like a funny, probably the first parody I ever saw.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and so getting to see a thing I love like riffed on was probably novel. And then, like you said, there's enough like tee-hee kind of humor to it that like feels like, whoa, it's late at night and we're watching this.
Now the title, and originally this movie was supposed to be called Planet Moron.
right.
Which cooler heads prevailed. Mel Brooks was famously he said it had to have the word space in the title, and he was racking his brain, and I guess they had like a probably in their writer's room, and he spilled something and he goes, balls, and then somebody says, how about Spaceballs?
Yep, that's it. If they were to make like the biopic of this, I'd be like, wait, say that again. I said balls. Space balls. Yeah.
And that's how we got and it's a nonsense title. It makes no sense.
I remember that as a kid being like, what is it? It sounds, again, going to the sort of tee-hee humor of it all. It just sounds tee-hee-ish. You know what I mean? But it did come into play with the aesthetic of the movie. I mean, look at the helmets here. They're balls.
They are big, giant balls. That is true.
Yeah. Which, by the way, before it passes, we have to comment on the ship passing overhead, which is hilarious, right? I mean, like as a kid, again, like it keeps going. The ship is still going. It was absolutely hilarious, and it looks great. It looks like something out of Alien or Star Wars or something.
Well, the special effects were by ILM. So George Lucas's own people did it, which I think was a smart play on the part of Mel Brooks, who he got George Lucas's permission before making this movie, just to make sure he was okay with it.
It's wise.
Yeah, kind of the Weird Al approach, right?
Yeah, why not be in good graces?
Weird Al, for those of you who don't know, unless the subject of his parody is okay with the parody, he doesn't go ahead with it. And I think, I don't know, there's like one or two people who turned him down, right? Weird Al?
Yeah, and I feel like I knew that about him, but I think most people learned that facet of him asking people due to Lady Gaga, right? Like where he was like, oh yeah, Lady Gaga was one of the few people recently who's kind of turned me down. And then she was like, no, I didn't. Like that just never got to me. She's like, I'd love you to do that. And he's like, oh, great. And so then there were all these sort of like Yahoo articles and whatever explaining how Weird Al operates. And yeah, it's tasteful or classy.
Classy. There you go.
Yeah.
You went over my helmet?
Yes.
So funny. Now I have to admit, like, watching this the first time, I don't think I got the humor of the ray beam like shooting in the balls.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, I guess he like it hurts. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't have that awareness of like, no, that really hurts to get hit in the balls.
I think I don't know if I knew that exactly. I just knew like the balls were funny.
Yeah.
Like he's grabbing his crotch. Like,
I think the whole idea of Rick Moranis playing Darth Vader, that's freaking genius.
It's genius. Just genius. And this huge helmet on his head. He looks so ridiculous. It's so funny.
The whole Mr. Coffee is like, of course, I always drink coffee before I look at the radar.
No, this is Mr. Coffee. Dude, this character. Well, George, is it George Weiner?
I think it's Weiner.
He is so funny. I think the older I get, the more I appreciate how absolutely hilarious he is in this movie.
Well, he's the straight man.
Yeah, but he's still got this sort of personality, and delivery that is just so funny. Opposite Dark Helmet. Mr. Coffee. Like, I don't know. Everybody got that? I think that all the time.
I was about to say,
yeah,
that's like part of my vernacular is everybody got that?
Yeah. He for people not watching along, basically explaining the plot of the movie, and then Rick Moranis looks to camera and says, "Everybody got that?"
Right.
I can hear all the dialogue here. Hot, too hot. Now, with this whole Planet Druidia thing, what's kind of interesting about this is clearly a riff on Star Wars, but it's also kind of its own thing,
yes.
Right? I mean, that, which is kind of the genius of it, because it's, you have those Friedberg and Seltzer parodies that came in the last 10, 15-ish years, which are basically just Twilight, but a guy gets hit in the nuts, and then like, Fast and Furious, but a guy gets hit in the nuts.
Now,
and it's
here at the MovieFilm podcast, we celebrate nut hitting comedy.
Of course. Let me not be misunderstood.
Yeah, let's be very clear about that. However, to your point, yeah, I mean, there's an actual story here that plays on the tropes of Star Wars and associated sci-fi stuff, but it's doing its own thing, right? And I think that's sort of the post scary movie and on approach to parody movies.
Yes,
is just like, oh, it's that thing, but like you said, vomiting or people.
Yeah, or she gets hit by a car. Like, what if she recreates the scene exactly from this movie, but then it ends with her getting hit by a car? Like, that's kind of what that became. But I admire that this is so clearly riffing on Star Wars-esque things, but it is also, well, actually, George Lucas himself, I guess he was shown the film, and according to Brooks, I think on the DVD commentary, he was saying that Lucas was like busting a gut laughing, and said that even if you took the Star Wars stuff out of this, like, it's still a good adventure film, which he took as high praise.
I think that's true. And the great thing is that the humor, you can grow up with the humor. Mm-hmm. So it allows for, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure this is the case for you, that as you've watched this over the last 30 plus years, you've come to appreciate new jokes that you didn't notice before.
Definitely. Yeah.
Prince Valiant, by the way, that is just a funny gag. That's a riff on Prince Valiant, the character, but having Jim J. Bullock playing him, which, like, Jim J. Bullock is one of those guys who, when I was a kid, I used to watch Too Close for Comfort, which is that sitcom with Ted Knight. And even as a little kid, I mean, Jim J. Bullock was like flaming, right? Even as a kid, I was like, I don't know what gay is, but I think that's what gay is, right? Like,
right.
It's just, so the idea of him playing the husband to be is just this extra little bit of humor,
Oh, that's funny. Barf.
Can't go wrong with Barf.
I know, this is interesting. I mean, with John Candy here, I was reading about how they had thought to put all this makeup on his face to make him look really dog-like, but then
kind of a
like,
chewy, full chewy.
Yeah, but then they're like, I guess Brooks was like, well, why am I paying John Candy? If I can get someone half the price to just cover their face. So they came up with what I think is like the perfect compromise, which is just these mechanical ears, like a little patch over his eye, like a tail.
It's perfect.
And you can imagine now, and this isn't even a criticism, but you just can imagine now, it's like, well, the ears would be CG, and The tail would probably be CG. But like, there's something. I mean, it looks great. Like just watching his ears emote with his acting and however they're controlling it. I read somewhere that he had like a 30-pound battery on his back.
That's
or
right.
Something.
Yeah, just to get all the little tchotchkes all over him to do their thing.
Yeah, but it looks great. Do we mention, by the way, I can't remember that Lucas had some stipulations, right? Agreeing to let Brooks do this.
Yeah. No toys.
No toys, which you can understand.
So Lucas, that right there, Lucas already knew how his bread was buttered. You know what I mean?
Totally. And so yeah, no merchandise. And then along those lines, with the stipulations, Lone Starr couldn't dress like Han Solo, so Brooks had him dress like Indiana Jones, which is kind of
perfect.
Funny. Yeah, leather jacket, khakis.
What's funny too is they wanted like a bigger name to play Lone Starr. They were looking at like a Tom Cruise or like a Mel Gibson type.
Right.
And then, I think Tom Cruise probably turned it down. He was like, I'm not going to do that. But when they got Rick Moranis and John Candy, that gave the flexibility of saying, oh, let's just find an unknown to play Lone Starr.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Pullman is so good in this.
So good. I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, I understand the business of show business and you have to have names and get people in. But sometimes when the filmmakers are allowed to take risks and cast who they really, really want, you're just like, and then it works. You're
That's
like,
right.
oh man, like, yeah, Bill Pullman is so great in this. Or else pizza. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, we should comment what's happening on screen here.
Pizza the Hut is disgusting looking.
Yeah. But isn't that such like a junior high joke? It's like,
yeah.
Jabba the Hutt. It's like, Pizza the Hut. And he's made a freaking pizza, like, it's just.
Well,
and then you get.
On top of that, the pizza is going to send out for you.
Right, exactly.
That's a really funny joke, which I totally flew over my head when I was a kid.
Totally. Going back to what you said. And then you got the Max Headroom sort of henchman.
Yeah, which like I love the fact when you look at that guy now, you're like, oh, that's just makeup. But I'll tell you, as a kid, I was like, wow, that looks amazing.
I know it does. It looks pretty good.
It holds up really well. By the way, speaking of Star Wars references, the way in which Daphne Zuniga with the Princess Leia hairdo.
Yeah.
Again, just a great gag. Those are that's just headphones. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I had also read, but there's a couple people, for Lone Starr, but that they were had reached out to James Caan
to play Lone Starr. I can actually see that.
Me too. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it,
but for the fact that you would need somebody very different to play Vespa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that would be gross.
Right. No, Pullman was ultimately the right choice. I guess Brooks or his wife had seen him in a play or something.
That's right. Yep. The late Anne Bancroft.
Yep. Right. This is a joke I didn't get till later. The Perry Air.
Perry. Yeah. Well, the funny thing to me is how it's in the phone call that he's having is in the context of like he's trying to get some fines reversed, like that, because he's like no, Spaceballs doesn't have a air shortage crisis. Thank you, and thank you also for not reversing those fines. So like, what's the conversation that led into that?
Right. I know. Yeah, it's like all the offhanded remarks that you start noticing the more you watch it or the older you get.
That's right.
But yeah, just having this whole original plot, like not just being like, oh, they're building a Death Star. It's like, oh,
right.
Planet's running out of air. And they're going to steal it from this other place. Like it's kind of cool that they went for something a little original so they can have, I don't know, their own sort of plot and fun with their plot. But then even this incorporating Star Trek, and beaming and all sorts of other, Alien later. And then
Snotty beamed me twice last night.
Right. Right. And this, of course, I mean, again, peak comedy in junior high.
I'm telling you, man. I mean,
it's still funny. Don't get me wrong.
What's also interesting is I think at this point, Spaceballs is sort of thought of as classic Mel Brooks, but I mean, definitely at the time it came out, critically, it was not particularly embraced.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. I mean, sometimes you do need time and distance to really appreciate things, and also to see where things are headed, and it makes you appreciate where you were.
Yeah.
With satire and parodies kind of going downhill, more closer to recent. But yeah, I looked up, like, Roger Ebert only gave it 2.5 stars, and one of his quotes, he said, "I enjoyed a lot of the movie, but I kept thinking I was at a revival. It should have been made several years ago, before our appetite for Star Wars satires had been completely exhausted." And
Which
I was
is
like,
interesting to me. 'Cause,
Yeah.
which Star Wars satires?
well, yeah. I mean, maybe what was the one with the vacuums, or what was that called?
Oh, like
Hardware
Wars?
Yeah,
Nobody watched nobody, like, I mean, that wasn't like a mainstream thing, was it?
no, true, but I have no idea, or maybe just from SNL or things like that. But I was like, oh, Roger, if you only knew what was to come, like, you were about to be buried in it.
Well, and I think for a couple points, because definitely in 87, Return of the Jedi was far enough in the past that I was like, oh wow, okay, I guess, like, it was like, it seems like it's been a while,
Yeah.
Now, given the passage of time, well, 4 years is nothing, because Star Wars has remained timeless, and therefore Spaceballs has remained timeless along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like let me put it this way, like Hot Shots Part 2 has aged worse probably than Hot Shots Part 1.
Right, because of the Top Gun versus Rambo.
Exactly, because people are still watching Top Gun.
Right.
Right?
But what that movie has going for it, likewise with this one, is that the jokes at least are still funny on their face.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if they had just been sort of riffing on things that you are expected to remember from a certain movie.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right.
How many assholes we got on this ship?
Yeah. Yo. I'm surrounded by assholes.
It's I mean, it is like Borscht Belt comedy,
Totally. I remember on TV they changed it to moron, and I was kind of fascinated because it totally worked. I was like, oh, did they film the whole scene again? Like, just saying moron?
Oh, well, I guess so, probably, right? I know in the novelization, I think it was Idiots.
Oh, that makes sense.
A novelization, by the way, written by R.L. Stein.
You know what's funny? I was going to bring that up at some point. I thought that was fascinating, first of all. But I was reading through a bunch of highlights of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of fascinating, like, the way they were trying to either appeal to kids or change things for kids.
That's right. Yeah.
Like you said with the Idiots thing, and then also when they're going to change the princess's nose, they just change it. They were going to, like, brand her with, like, Scroob's name or something, and then there's a humorous running gag. Every time Barf scratches himself, one of the other characters asks if he has fleas. Which I thought was funny. And then also another one I wrote down was Mega
Actually,
Maid has
by the way,
line. Yeah.
Speaking of scratching himself, I totally talked right past it. But when Scroob, like, scratches his balls facing backwards,
yes,
it cracks me up every
You're right,
every time. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and then I guess they gave in the book Mega Maid a line, and she says one line, and it is, "I don't do windows."
That's kind of funny. That's actually kind of funny.
It is, yeah, it's kind of funny. But I was like,
now I should say I read the novelization as a kid. I had already seen the movie.
Oh, you've read it? Oh, okay.
I read it, and after having seen the movie, so I remember the certain of those things. Some of the stuff you mentioned, I completely forgotten. But the Surrounded by Idiots thing, I definitely remember that, and I definitely remember when Goosebumps became a thing. I was like, "Hey, it's the guy who wrote the Spaceballs book."
Oh wow, how funny!
Good for him.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. That was like one of those things growing up in school, where they had the scholastic. Well, they had the book fairs, but they also had those, I don't know, what do you call them? Like catalogs they would give you?
The book, the order forms.
Yeah, the order forms. And it would be like, Indiana, like you were all into Last Crusade or something. And then they'd have the novelization and you'd order it and then anticipate when you'd see that scholastic box on your teacher's desk and be like, oh, my Indiana Jones book is in there.
I mean, that shit, like you would, give them a check
Yep.
and then they would submit it. And like 2 weeks before graduating high school, your packet would arrive and it would be the greatest thing. I mean, you place the order in like first grade. It would take forever.
Yeah, it took. Yeah, what felt like forever. I don't even remember.
In this age now, I don't think kids could even process the joy that you would feel.
Man. Yeah.
Right. There's nothing comparable. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, okay.
Michael Winslow.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, come on, like jam their radar, shoot a jar of jam. This is one of my favorite jokes. I was like, and then when he takes the thing out of his hand and he still does it, he still does the radar or the comm voice. You don't need that, yeah. So he rips it out. So good.
So by this point, Michael Winslow had knocked out a couple of them Police Academy movies.
Yeah, he must be like, sit up. This guy's on screen.
That's right. And my thought always is, and I'm sure he's a lovely person, but is he like this all the time? Because it would annoy the piss out of me.
That is so funny that's what you think. Wait, have we explained him, by the way, for people that most likely do not know who we're talking about? Michael Winslow was this actor who was in, as far as I'm sure he was a stand-up. That's my guess. But then he was in the Police Academy movies, and his thing was that he would do these really great sound effects with his mouth.
Yeah.
So, like in Police Academy, for example, it'd be like maybe some kids are skateboarding where they shouldn't. And then you'd hear a police siren, but then he would walk up, and it would be like, "Oh, he's making that sound with his mouth," and that was his shtick. Like,
it's Officer Jones again.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, I guess, but like, so, and then utilizing him in this movie, he's this like comms person, and he's just like making all these sound effects with his noise. Like, I'm having trouble with the radar. It's giving the bleeps, the creeps, and the sweeps.
I'm like, man, again, I think in short doses, I'm sure that would be fine. But like, if you're sitting next to him at dinner and he's doing that.
That is true. Like if you're like cutting your meat or something like that, and then he's gone,
or he's like,
yeah. Yeah, that would probably get on your nerves. Yes. That's funny. I hadn't even worked. I'm just so charmed by him. I hadn't even gotten to the scenario where he's getting on my nerves. But that is true. Anyway. Oh, so yeah, Joan Rivers here, right? What's her name? Dot Matrix, I think.
Dot Matrix,
which is like a type of printer, or the way printers used to print, right?
I love how you're talking as if that's something alien to you, because that's aging me.
No, I remember. I mean, I had one. I just don't remember what that was. If that was
like,
the
I
type
understand
of
that was some kind of a printer of some kind. Yeah,
it'd be funny if that was shtick I did, where I pretended I didn't remember things that clearly we both remember.
Did you know that the telephones used to be connected to the wall?
Yeah. You familiar with this thing?
Some kind of a wire.
Yeah.
Yes. A dot matrix printer. It would go. And so you again, that was probably a sound effect that Michael Winslow did a lot of in the 80s.
Yes. Yeah. You did not want to go to a Kinko's with Michael Winslow. Yeah, no, of course I remember that. I couldn't remember if that was the name of a brand or if that was the style.
No, it was the style, yeah.
Imagine that, like line by line, dot by dot, printing out your pages. I remember being in like community college and like sweating because I was running late, but I was waiting for my stupid freaking dot matrix printer to slowly churn out the paper that was due that day. So anyway,
yeah, you're taking me back. Yeah, I had a keyboarding class freshman year, so exactly 30 years ago, and it was just all period. You just hear people printing their stuff out, driving you slowly insane.
Yep. This stuff. Knowing that ILM did this, you're like, yeah, no, this looks pretty good. I don't know that I've fully. I mean, it doesn't look quite Star Wars level. These special effects here, but
it's the lighting looks great. Team probably.
Yeah, right. Like, but it looks much better than it should. I mean, when you see movies that are even
I
later
mean,
than this.
It looks better than like Flash Gordon, for example, which is meant to be
right.
Somewhat serious, you know.
Yeah, but even look at this shot. This is another thing I appreciate. Look at like the lighting here. Like this looks kind of like a serious space movie, right? Where sometimes comedies will overlight things and like, no, we're having fun. And I think comedies can be funnier when they look like the thing they're actually trying to be, but then they're funny in that tone. Which, by the way,
I just literally just noticed her license plate, which is spoiled rotten.
Spoiled rotten, yeah.
Never noticed that before.
I had to call it that moment there where he's tells his guard to wait or whatever, and the guy's like, "Oh, you know, Captain" or whatever, and then he just does this silent head turn and just looks at the guard, and then slowly puts his head back to the ship. Like that is so funny to me. Yeah, she's not in here.
Winnebago. I love how that's how he makes the connection to Lone Starr.
Right. Here comes the bad year blimp. Do people even talk about the good year blimp anymore?
I don't think so. I think that is exclusively a reference to pop culture references.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like now.
I mean, there is one out here down the from where I live down the 405. You can see it on the side of the road, but it's people just don't joke about it anymore.
It's not a ubiquitous like pop culture reference.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to explain it.
Yeah. I guess it used to be novel having this blimp over your football game, but now there's like drones that can like recreate an animated American flag or something, you know? So it's just like, who cares?
We've lost our ability to be amazed, Brian. That's really what it is.
I know. Now, this is a pretty iconic joke here of one of many.
I did not know what the word ludicrous meant until I watched this movie.
This is where I learned it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so stupid, so great. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
Prepare ship!
Yes. Close the three-ring circus. But yeah, so instead of going to light speed, it's ludicrous speed.
We got to go past light speed into ridiculous speed and then into ludicrous speed.
Yep.
Buckle this.
Yes, this is so funny. He's like, my brains are going into my feet.
There was a time when like I had this movie memorized. I mean,
same.
Right? Like
yeah. Well, and I mean, it's worth mentioning that now we have electric cars. Didn't have those, I don't think, in 87. And now the electric car, the people making them thought it'd be funny to actually give it a setting called ludicrous speed.
That's really funny. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. And this is a great joke. Like they go past light speed and they go to plaid. Like apropos of nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's not like based on anything. It's just like they just go to plaid. You've gone to plaid. We can't stop. It's too dangerous. I love him. The older I think as I became an adult and watched this, he's become my favorite character in the movie.
Now, what's funny to me is the little lever here.
Yes,
and it says never use.
Right.
Well, why is it there then?
Right.
It's not like use only in case of. It's like never use it. Well, then don't have that thing.
Right.
This is like Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters, like after he's possessed by
totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, have some.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like smoke them if you got them.
Okay, if you got them. Yeah.
Although I feel like they have made Spaceballs figures since this. Am I wrong? Like I feel like they exist now.
I have to imagine. I mean, I can't remember the names. Where there's like these company like Series 7 or Super 7, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Super 7.
And they make them look like packaging and toys that were released in the 80s, but they're based on all the stuff that we wished we had back growing up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I'm-
those companies, capitalizing on all this stuff now.
See, I'm wondering. It's
I feel like I don't. Yeah, I just feel like there's like merch for this stuff kind of now. Spaceballs. Like I feel like I saw someone somewhere wearing a Spaceballs the T-shirt
sure.
or something like that, which I'm sure Lucas now is just like whatever.
Well, Lucas isn't even in the mix anymore, right? Like
That's true.
I'm
Well,
wondering-
I wonder if Brooks is. Yeah.
I'm wondering. Yeah. Oh, good point. But I'm also like, would Disney be more or less amenable than George Lucas was?
Yeah, that's a good point too. I don't know.
Right.
This is another thing too I didn't think about as a kid, but now our eyes are a little attuned to it. But when you can see model work,
Oh, sure.
where that's clearly like a model Winnebago and forced perspective with probably like a sandbox, when they're crashing in the desert here. But sort of like with Batman '89. I mean, growing up, I didn't think about it, but now when the Batwing crashes, it's clearly
Oh,
these,
sure.
like,
You're like a
toy
it's
cars.
Like a 5. That's like a 10-inch model. That
Yeah. But yeah, just their love story too. Like how it's different. It's like Leia and Han and they're sparring, but it's different.
It's and it's playing on those tropes.
Yeah.
Daphne Zuniga, by the way, was like 25 when she did this.
Oh wow.
She would go on to be on Melrose Place.
Yeah.
And she's in The Fly 2, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Fly 2. I've never seen that.
Yeah, that's the one with Eric Stoltz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many years after the Goldblum one?
That Goldblum, I think, was 86, and Fly 2 was, I want to say, 88.
Wow. Okay, so not that far.
Yeah, but it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well,
89, so it's 3 years later.
yeah.
I'm curious how old Bill Pullman was in this, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like 30, early 30s or something.
Yeah, probably. It looks like mid-30s, probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. 53 he was born. So, yeah, about 34.
Hey, all right.
Hey, you're right.
We're both right. When you're right, you're right.
We just on a related tangent. A couple weeks ago, my kids watched Independence Day 2 on their own, despite my protestations. I was like, "Hey, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but I don't normally tell you I hate movies. I hate that movie."
Really? Wait, what did they think?
My second one, he was kind of like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. So he didn't tap out. My older one, he was like, I'm done,
Oh, really?
Yeah. They watched the part where Bill Pullman sacrifices himself, and they were essentially like, what kind of freaking bullshit is this?
I love
They
it.
were like so mad at that.
Yeah, when you don't get Will Smith, you gotta come up with something big.
That's right.
I remember thinking this giant hairdryer was hilarious as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, going back, I was quoting Barf earlier when he's like, when you're right, you're right. And you're always right. And just for the personal record, I have to say, I worked this job at a restaurant and one of the servers said that once. And I was like, wait, what is that from? And she was like, I don't know. And it drove us crazy. And I remember going to every single employee in the restaurant and saying it and being like, wait, what is that from? It was driving us crazy. And we were thinking it was from Aladdin. I remember we thought it was like a Yago saying that to Jafar or something.
Sure.
And then
I can see
eventually we figured out that it's Barf and Spaceballs.
that. How long did that take to eventually get there?
I don't remember, but I remember it being like a day-long affair.
Dude, this right here, this whole sequence, when they watch the video, so funny.
This is hilarious too, by the way, him slurping the coffee through his helmet.
Yeah, through the
I think this is one of the greatest movie gags of all time.
No, it's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's original. And it is
Mel Brooks movies, by the way.
Right. But it's like, it's perfectly mined and executed. You know what I mean? Like they take full advantage of this concept and its execution, the timing is perfection.
Yeah.
for people not watching along, this is when they're trying to figure out where the heroes went, the villains. And so they're like, well, let's just watch the movie and find out. So they're like, yeah, but we're in the middle of the movie. Like, oh no, it's this brand new thing, like you watch the movie before it's finished. And so they put in Spaceballs, the movie, and they fast forward through the film that we are watching and show us things we just saw.
It's so funny. It's brilliant.
And then Dark Helmet, crashing and be like, fast forward this. In fact, never play this again.
Never play it again.
I mean, this is
the look on his face.
But that is hilarious enough. But then they catch up to the movie. So you're watching now. We're watching now. And the way
we're now.
Yeah, the way that Weiner is moving his hands. Well, now. Like oh my gosh.
Oh, every single time this cracks me up.
That's why let's see when he moves his hands. You can get now, okay?
Just now.
Yeah, what happened to then? We missed it. Just now. This I truly like. If I had to make like a top 10 comedy gags of all time, I really feel like this could belong there.
No, I would co-sign that.
Yeah. Woo! So funny. Sorry for everybody listening to this. Like, it's just
hey,
be just
you're
quoting
listening to us watch, or you're listening to us watch Spaceballs. You know what you signed up for.
Exactly. Oh man. Just coming down from that scene. Sorry. I kind of love this sort of old school, clearly a stage. Kind of reminds me of Three Amigos in a way, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like outside, starry sky setting. It's kind of I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a soundstage, but we buy it.
Yeah. I love I don't know that I can quite name what they're riffing on here specifically, but the way that they start talking, nah, never was, like kind of, like lovey-dovey, old school romantic kind of interplay is kind of fun. And it feels like something I'm sure Brooks, it's probably like movies he grew up with and is loving to riff on.
Well, and I think that kind of like Blazing Saddles, which is very much a send up of the entirety of the Western genre.
Right.
I think this one is a little bit more narrowly focused.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we think about like what critics at the time didn't like, maybe it's that, like the expectation, like, because even like Young Frankenstein, which is pretty clearly a parody of Universal horror movies, it's the style of humor is slightly different.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
This is on the spectrum. This is maybe a little bit raunchier.
Mm-hmm.
Even again, it's like pretty wholesome.
Yeah, totally.
With the benefit of 36 years of hindsight.
Right. right. That is kind of interesting, right? You don't see as many PG movies these days. I was surprised to see that Across the Spider-Verse was PG. I was like, oh, yeah, you just don't see that. You just kind of expect everything to be basically PG-13.
Yeah, unfortunately, PG is thought of as sort of a box office killer.
Right. Whereas in the 80s, whatever we think of PG-13, that's kind of what PG was then,
That's right.
And this is one of those. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was like, maybe it was better that way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like nice to have like I don't know. It's like I say, I think just everything just feels kind of lumped into that PG-13 thing. But this is one of the few PG movies from the 80s that actually has the F word in it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is like kind of a weird anomalous sort of thing, like I guess it was in the trivia I was looking at where it's Caddyshack 2, Beetlejuice, Big, and this movie.
It's a very specific fraternity.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, as a kid, I definitely didn't get the Virgin alarm.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yep. Wait, did we mention Joan Rivers? I can't remember.
We did, although we didn't talk about how she was brought in late in the game, because
Oh,
the original plan was for the actress who was doing the mime for Dot Matrix. She was going to do the voice, Lorraine Yarnell.
okay.
And for whatever reason, Mel Brooks reached out to Joan Rivers. I don't know why exactly. I would assume to sort because I mean she was so well known. She had such a distinctive voice
Yeah.
and such a specific comedic sensibility. Maybe just
Mhm.
to add a little extra humor.
Right. Right. I mean, obviously she's great, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but like even like Dom DeLuise, he has his voice cameo as Pizza the Hut and stuff like
Right.
that. So
Right. Speaking of like, jokes that like as a kid I probably found very funny, the whole, water and
Yeah.
Matrix being like oil. And I'm sure I didn't get when they did that crossfade, to the sun, and then John Candy's like, nice dissolve.
oh, probably yeah, definitely. That's as a grown up now.
Yeah. We were talking about sequels earlier. This is my 35-minute later transition, but I guess Rick Moranis had said that he'd spoken with Mel Brooks about a potential sequel, and they were pitching the title Spaceballs 3: The Search for Spaceballs 2.
That's pretty funny.
I was like, it's good. That's good.
I'm glad they didn't do a sequel. And I think I can easily imagine a scenario where they would have, and the next one would have been kind of a Hot Shots thing where it takes aim at a different, right. But I think it's best left as a one and done, and I think that's borne out by the fact that there was this animated series.
Yes, right.
Which was just freaking awful.
Kind of weird, right? Because I don't have a huge memory of it, the specifics of it, but I just remember it felt like real, like sort of TNA humor and kind of like lowbrow kind of stuff, and it doesn't feel very Brooksy. I mean, Brooksy, like, this is such a, I don't know why I keep repeating this stupid thing that I'm saying, but like Teehee, like he kind of likes cheeky humor, he doesn't go for the full like bawdy, raunchy sort of stuff. So it didn't feel like connected.
Yeah, and that's doubly weird because Mel Brooks was in it, Daphne Zuniga was in it, Joan Rivers was in it. So I mean, there was definitely connective tissue, but
right?
just the style of humor didn't fit. Oh, and Dom DeLuise also was in it. So
oh wow,
I didn't realize how old the show is. It's actually like 15 years ago.
I have to comment real quick on that ship that's hovering there. You can clearly see the mirror beneath it to reflect the sand. I mean, that's a good old school trick. Little
nod to Star Wars.
Yep.
The original, the land speeder effect.
Yep. Going back real quick to the animated show. I think I've said this on the show many episodes ago, but our pal Sean Coyle and I pitched a TV show to the network that was developing Spaceballs. So I think it's called G4.
So G4,
Yep. And it was the only meeting that we ever took where someone was literally looking at their phone while we spoke to them and going, and I was like the stereotype of something, you know what I mean? Like of like a network executive. And I remember thinking like, really? Like this is really happening. Like
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So, but they G4.
Well, sounds like nothing of value was lost is what it sounds like to me.
I'm thinking. But so anyway, the Jawas sort of parody here. I mean, there's sort of this riff on the Jawas, kind of the Munchkins from Wizard of Oz, right? It's like sort of this hybrid thing. And then now this is straight up Wizard of Oz, right? Them arm in arm approaching, sort of like the wizard at the end of or middle of Wizard of Oz. Mixing
and the fact that
Yoda,
the dinks that they're singing the Bridge on the River Kwai music, that was something that totally passed me by when I was a kid.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Actually, it's so funny. I'm just so used to it. I don't even think about it. Like that's, yeah.
Now, Brooks I have to admit, as a kid, it didn't even occur to me that he's just on his knees. Mel Brooks.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, he's just short. And I was like amazed. He's like short there and he's like tall there. What's going on here? Movie magic, you know?
Right.
No, he's
That's
just
really funny.
he's just on his knees.
Yeah, it's so simple. That makeup's actually pretty good.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, was this the first Mel Brooks movie that you ever saw?
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing I was like 8 or 9 or something. So probably. Like this feels like sleeping over at a friend's house, going to the video store, you know, picking Spaceballs for the 4th time. Like that's kind of my memory of watching this movie as a kid. So I'm sure it was probably the beginning of that.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But like I knew the name Mel Brooks.
Yeah. This is great.
Now this way you can see that there's like on the coloring book right there. There's Optimus Prime.
Yes.
You know, they just took random existing stuff and just threw a Spaceballs logo on it.
Hilarious. May the Schwartz be with you.
Adorable.
Talking doll. Yeah.
Cut
And then
to
the
people
flamethrower.
playing with their Grogu toys
Yes.
now. You know?
Yes, you're right. No, the flamethrower. I remember that cracking me up as a kid. Spaceballs, the flamethrower. Kids love this one.
This is a little scandalous. I remember
Yeah.
watching this as a kid and it being awkward that my parents were in the room.
Right. But it is it's like cheeky, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
It's like just this side of Benny Hill.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, what a great joke. This
Comb the desert.
combing the desert.
Well, what's great? It's like levels of great because it's funny enough that they're combing, and then you've got the black guy who's combing it with the Afro pig.
Right, exactly, right. And it's funny too because it's like the ace comb. It's not just like a comb. It's like they look like oversized. Like, honey, I blew up the kid. You know, like took these real combs that you used to have in your pocket. You know,
Right.
There's a lot of layers of this.
We ain't found shit.
It's so good. I love too how the movie like sort of like hangs there for a second because they know you're laughing.
Right.
Like we got to give you a second.
Dude, this right here though, when he's it's like,
Oh
he's
right,
like,
right.
"Ugh, much." You know?
You're right.
No, I was just clearing my throat. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
So, but this is another thing too, where like I wonder if I were to make a Star Wars parody, if I would be, you know, too faithful to the original material and trying to riff on certain things. But I love that it's like, oh, he's got this medallion and he doesn't know what it means, and you know, find out it has something to do with his lineage. Like all this original stuff's pretty good.
But that's the funny thing is that Mel Brooks said he wanted to be as close as possible to Star Wars, right?
And I mean, I guess it just sort of depends on perspective, because I mean, in many ways, he is, you know.
Right. Like that's, I think he was smart enough to, I mean, he's Mel Brooks. He's got story sense.
Yeah.
So he knew how to create a story within this framework that hit, because, you know, if we say that Star Wars is, you know, power of myth and archetypes and blah, blah, blah. Well, Mel Brooks is touching on those same archetypes. He's just doing it with kind of a you know, with a raised eyebrow.
Yeah. And sort of the Star Wars setting / characters.
That's right.
You know, this is such a good cartoonish joke.
Upsy daisy.
Yeah. But that big flat.
Yeah, they're right there.
I'd read too that I guess this was the highest budget Mel Brooks ever had, about 25-ish million.
Yeah, and in comparison to that, like the movie did okay. But I don't know, because it made 38 million.
Right.
Which I don't know if in 1987 dollars that's considered like a hit, you know.
Yeah, things have changed so much, whereas now, you know, you look at a budget, it's more than just a budget you have to make back. It's like, you know, marketing, which is like, you know, double the budget. And
that's right.
So I don't know how that with the
I mean,
sheets look like that.
it opened in second place. I think.
Was it 87?
That's right. Like the movie Dragnet did better.
Wow.
Which, you know what like look at this. 20 million budget for Dragnet, and it made 66 and a half million.
Wow.
So Dragnet was an unquestionable hit.
Now, do you think the adults in that day and age, and I am even saying like young adults, like they knew what Dragnet was, and so that was sort of hitting them in the feels, whereas this was like we had to sort of wait for this on VHS because the Star Wars generation was maybe a little too young to go to the theater for this, and then that's how like in video and beyond it became endeared to us?
That is a great question. I think that, let's see, Dragnet 87, right? So the TV show probably ran until the like early 70s, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Right. So and it was been in reruns, so it was well known, and the movie was like a parody.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would assume that would have played differently.
Yeah.
Because Dragnet's not a good movie, but the whole bit, the entire shtick of the movie Dragnet is here's Dan Aykroyd doing like a spot on Jack Webb impression.
Right.
So the only way that works is if you have knowledge of Jack Webb and the original to compare it with.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, it in comparison, this one just did okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure like its post theatrical life has been, exceeded.
That's a completely different story. I mean, who talks about the Dragnet movie now?
Right now, it feels like when that comes up, not to dump on that movie, I've never seen it, but
it's a piece of shit, Brian.
I don't know.
I will not have you defending Dragnet.
I was gonna say the only thing I think people remember now is that rap video.
The rap video. Well, Dragnet for me, first time I ever saw Tom Hanks was in Dragnet. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I bet for me it was probably Joe versus the Volcano,
which was after, right? That was like 1990,
89 or something. Yeah,
yeah,
or 90, or maybe Big. I don't know.
Anyway, Spaceballs.
Yeah. But yeah, this whole ring component. Actually, I kind of remember as a kid not digging the ring thing because it didn't feel Star Wars-y to me.
Interesting.
Like I kind of wanted lightsabers, and like the ring would just look like something you could get at the dentist's office out of the treasure chest.
Or in a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah. Well, touche. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll meet again in Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. That's a funny joke.
Yeah, it's good. I was reading that the makeup gave him Mel Brooks a rash, which sounds
I believe it. I feel like I was getting a rash just looking at him in that makeup.
Yeah.
This right here,
the
the
yeah, Dark Helmet playing with his dolls. Those look pretty good too, by the way.
I'll bet you if you were to go on like Etsy or something, you could find these dolls.
Totally.
Right? Like even if they're not official, I'm sure they exist.
Yeah. But no, I remember as a kid cracking up at this.
Oh my God, I was rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy interrupting him, like, what?
I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick Moranis, man, it's such a shame the way he just disappeared, I mean, when we know the family reasons and this and that he stepped away from the industry, but it's like such a consistent source of comedy gold.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. It didn't matter what the movie was. You certainly loved him,
That's right.
He's just one of those guys. And to this day, I think he's very, a whole generation is very, very endeared to him and misses him and wishes he would come back for sure.
Well, and I think that his career has outlasted our generation. Like I think that between Spaceballs and Ghostbusters and even Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, you have people who've grown up in the 30 years since who love Rick Moranis.
Yeah, which is great, and I hope he knows that. You want those people to just know how much they mean to the people who grew up with him. This is a funny joke too. The the screen, the toilet. You know, told you never to use this one. And she looks at camera. I am a sucker for breaking the fourth wall
when it's done the right way.
When it's done the right way. I think the peak breaking the fourth wall is Trading Places. When
oh sure,
they're explaining pork, whatever, you know, the Eddie Murphy and like a BLT sandwich, and they're totally talking down to him, and Eddie Murphy just looks straight at camera, and then it just cuts away. Like that's my favorite one. But yeah,
now there's Brenda Strong as the nurse.
Wait, I don't know Brenda Strong
from you know, on Seinfeld. She was the braless wonder.
Oh man,
Sue Ellen Mishke. Brenda Strong she was the narrator of Desperate Housewives.
Oh, really? Oh, wait. Okay.
Like you know, in the first episode, she kills herself, her character, and then her ghost is like narrating the whole series. So that was her. She's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's her.
That was like a very early 2000s thing, wasn't it? Like sort of like American Beauty too. Like, hi, I'm dead now, but I'm going to tell you about my life in suburbia.
Really,
you know, like
it does feel like that. Yeah. Oh, Dick Van Patten, by the way, we didn't mention him at all.
Oh yeah.
He was, of course, well known for Just the 10 of Us.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. 8 is Enough. Which one? Just the 10 of Us was the later one, right?
Ooh, 8 is Enough, maybe?
8 is Enough.
Yeah.
Which I have to imagine that title comes from his wife telling him to climb off of her.
8 is Enough?
Yeah. I don't know. That's my thought. Because that was definitely my thought with Just the 10 of Us. I'm like, dude, leave her alone. My God.
Dude,
get a hobby.
8 is Enough. Go play some golf.
Dick Van Patten must have been some kind of sexual dynamo.
right.
For his wife to just keep popping kids out for him. Jeez Louise. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
But anyway, Dick Van Patten, he's also he's the abbot in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh right. Yeah. Wait, by the way, I love this joke. The combination
it's the same combination of my luggage.
Yeah. Sounds like something an idiot would have for his luggage. Like, it's the same combination of my luggage. Love it. You know, that's
by the way, we're way past the joke, but I did want to point out the whole beaming thing and how he's like, this time I'll walk, and then it's like the next room over.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. That's like a good riff on the stormtrooper outfits too, there, right?
I think so. Yeah. I love too that the two guys are like perfectly. They have the physique,
right?
Of like a John Candy physique and a Bill Pullman physique.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even think about it. You're so right.
You're under arrest for illegal parking.
Right. A giant key.
So funny.
Yeah, but it's like kind of a cool. It evokes stormtroopers, but it's kind of its cool own design. I like how it covers the eyes.
Yeah.
You know, I was reading somewhere that they used blue screen on this movie, but at the time, like people were worried that it could hurt your eyes. So in between takes, cast and crew were wearing sunglasses.
Wait, blue screen?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
But I mean, blue screens have been around, right? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's just something I read. But you can imagine in the early days when it's like you don't know, you're just like, I don't know. Like it's pretty striking.
Right. Now this, I have to say, the Nobody Knows thing, like that, this was the movie that introduced me to that as the thing that you sing when you're stuck in prison.
Totally.
So
yeah.
I make sure to, whenever I'm in prison, I make sure to sing that song.
Right. And it's funny, like hearing her deep voice, and it's good. Good joke. See, it's perfect, just like Star Wars. Enough to evoke. I forgot too. Like, it's funny because it started kicking in my head, even though it hasn't happened yet. That there's actually like a theme that plays during the action in this. Spaceballs.
Yeah, that's right. Do, 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 do.
I love all these. Like, yeah, this is like so like old school. You know, it's like a guy in his underwear. You know, like his boxer shorts. You know, he just had his uniform taken from him.
That's right. But even when you think about it, even like the lasers, they all like it looks correct.
This looks great.
Yeah, you know, like that stuff that it's weird how like you have to sort of buy the reality of this world, even though it is a satirical world.
Right.
And so the fact that they did go to ILM to do the effects like that ended up paying dividends, I think, in terms of the movie being perceived as more credible, if that makes any sense. That's a great joke right here, by the way.
I was just going to say,
the laser beams.
And linking to this joke. Exactly. It gets so like Looney Tunes. But what's funny is what I was saying earlier, where it's like the lighting, like they didn't overlight it. Like sometimes you see comedies and it's just so bright because it's like, hey, comedy, like just trying to lighten the mood. But this is filmed and lit like, you know, like an action film. And so when you get that ridiculous joke of the lasers going through those tubes, like it's funnier because you're seeing that in a setting where that shouldn't be.
Oh, by the way, this right here.
This is another iconic. Oh, and what's his name there?
It's the the Groundhog Day guy.
Oh, dude, I can't believe this is. I'm having a break.
I know.
Live.
What's his name?
I know I could say Ned Ryerson, but like.
That's right.
Tobolowsky.
There you go, Stephen Tobolowsky.
Yes.
You've captured their stunt doubles.
Great joke.
It's like Princess Vespa's got like a mustache and a cigar.
So good. Can you just see them in the room writing that? It's like, oh, they capture him. Like, well, how'd they get out? It's like, they captured their stunt doubles. You know, like great joke. With apologies to Stephen Tobolowsky.
I know he's gonna listen to this with just a single tear rolling down his cheek.
This is funny. I remember thinking this was funny too. Her sort of going all Schwarzenegger and everyone just flying away.
Don't mess with their hair.
Yep.
So this movie came out in July of, or rather June of 87, and 87 was packed.
Really? 87 is kind of a yeah. Tell me. I can always be like, oh, 88, yeah, this 89, this, but I can't think of 87 besides like 3 Minute a Baby.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that, to be honest. 87, just off the top of my, well, there's Dragnet, Brian. I think we established that. But RoboCop was that summer. The Untouchables was that summer. Superman 4, Masters of the Universe. There's more, but those are the
and weirdly, the other one I think of is Secret of My Success. Another one where it's like, I don't know why that's the one that comes to my head, but
yeah, right. La Bamba was that summer.
Okay.
I definitely remember that.
Good year.
And of course, Jaws: The Revenge. Can't forget. That.
Right.
Yeah, interestingly, when I look at like the top box office hits for summer of 87, number 1 was Beverly Hills Cop 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, which made $153 million in 1987 dollars.
Wow.
That is bananas. And then Spaceballs is way down at number 14.
Okay.
Just underneath, Brian, The Secret of My Success.
Hey.
There you go. Yeah, wow. Kind of an interesting, actually. Like I'm looking at this list and it's like Predator was that summer also. I do remember.
Oh, of course, right.
Snow White was re-released. Full Metal Jacket, I definitely remember that too. The Living Daylights. I think I can't remember if I mentioned Roxanne. Revenge of the Nerds 2. Wow, what a weird Lost Boys, Harry and the Hendersons. Wow.
This is making sense to me though, because a lot of the movies you're saying that are now staples for me, like Predator and all that, like RoboCop and all that, I was too young for those movies at the time, so I don't think I equate them with that moment, like I equate them with later or something. By the way, we got a Kafka joke in there, right? Because the Mega Maid metamorphosis.
Yes.
Definitely didn't get that as a kid.
Oh yeah. What, you didn't, Brian, when you were 8?
But yes, I remember thinking this was hilarious. I guess you do get a little bit of a Death Star here, its own version of it, right? The Spaceballs, the ship turns into Mega Maid. Look at how proud he was after that when he looked away from the timpani player. I'm serious. I think he might be the secret MVP of this movie. He is so good.
I think a lot of the jokes land because of his delivery. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Now they're going to suck all the air out of Druidia. That's a good plot. It's got this bubble around it, which seemed like, that's, like a lot. But then Rogue One did it, right? Put a whole shield around a planet.
Ah, yeah. There you go. Maybe that's they got their inspiration from this.
Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional, but when they were sucking all that stuff out the mountain, it sort of looked like the Paramount Mountain.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine that was by design.
Yeah, it's like a funny idea. Just this big handheld vacuum cleaner taking
so stupid.
The bag is expanding with all the oxygen from the planet. That's pretty good.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, like. I know Mel Brooks was like disappointed that the big names he wanted didn't do this movie, but like who else? Bill Pullman.
I know.
Just
frankly,
he offered it to Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks did Dragnet instead. So,
although I can kind of picture Tom Hanks, like 80s Tom Hanks, I can see it.
It would be different though. The characterization would be very because I think what works with Pullman is that he has leading man, like classic sort of action hero looks. You know what I mean?
No, I think you're right. You're right. Because he is funny. He does the comedy well, but yeah, he is like leading man forward, like in roguish and handsome. And so you kind of got the best of everything with him.
Right, because Tom Hanks, especially at that time, was like the goofy guy. Like that's what he was known as.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He would have been a little more comedian-ish.
Because Pullman is essentially doing a riff on Han Solo, but funnier.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Going into the year. Oh, by the way, this is like a random thing I had written down and before I forget. But I guess Mel Brooks for yogurt wanted Gene Wilder. But
I can see that.
Me too. I was like, I 100% can picture that. You can picture his sort of that unique sort of soft delivery he had with like a little bit of a twinkle in his eye.
Did Gene Wilder just not want to do it?
No. Brooks's quote was, "If Gene Wilder hadn't abandoned me to do his own movies." So I think it's kind of like, of course, good for him, but I miss my friend.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I can
look at this.
see
This
that,
looks good, doesn't it?
That's and not just that. I mean, this is, we talk about how strenuously it sticks to Star Wars. I mean, it's doing something totally different at this point.
Yep.
This is not the Death Star trench run or whatever,
Right. Right. But going along with what we were saying earlier too, where it looks like the movies it's trying to be versus a comedy. I mean, like, I think something that's helped is that the visual effects too don't take you out of the movie. They look so good that you're just like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of helps you to get invested in the actual plot of it. Instead of that feeling silly too,
it's interesting because it does feel like this was kind of, I mean, Mel Brooks stuck around. He made more movies after this, but like this style of humor, which was probably deemed, kind of, it was rebellious at the time, but it almost felt a little outdated when compared with sort of the Naked Gun style, just like a year later.
Sure.
Right, because like now we sort of put this in the same column as the Naked Gun, but their approaches are very different.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and I think and then arguably Naked Gun, which Hot Shots is part of that same thing. That then led to sort of this vein of comedy, which now we end up with Friedberg and Seltzer and that whatever those guys do.
Yeah, and I was just listening to a screenwriting podcast the other day, and Paul Feig was on it, and they were talking about like movies like Spy, and they're like, like a parody of Bond films. He goes, well, I want to point out that it's not a parody. It's like I like Bond movies, and I want to make a type of Bond movie. And he was basically saying that like parody to him was almost like a dirty word, and I was like, oh, how sad. Like good parodies are fantastic,
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I think to that point,
yeah,
like. Is Austin Powers a parody of James Bond? Like, is this just about the terminology we're using?
Yeah, maybe it was sort of like Christopher Guest, how he doesn't like the word mockumentary. So like maybe it's like I don't want to reduce Airplane, Naked Gun, Spaceballs to just one word.
Right.
Whatever that style is, I do miss the good version of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, well, to that point, like Airplane was before this.
Yes.
And that's one of the funniest movies ever made, but it's not a Mel Brooks style movie.
Right.
Yeah,
but there's you could say there are similarities, in like situational sort of things that happen in like a serious setting and riffing on a movie. I mean, Airplane's like a riff on whatever that old movie is.
The 0 Hour, I think it's
called. Yeah. But different styles and different voices for sure. Like I just wish we kind of had geniuses that were still speaking that language. I think that would be fun.
Oh, by the way, the whole bit with how you have to put the ring in front of your dong totally missed me when I was a kid.
Yeah, no me. I mean, I knew it was funny because they were doing it, but I don't think I really thought about it.
I was completely clueless. I had no idea what made that funny until
right. Right. This is good saber effects.
Yep.
Killing the
You can
crew.
hear the music.
Yeah.
He did it.
So I mean that's a funny. I was just watching something the other day where they're pointing at a crew member. Oh, I think we were talking about Wayne's World 2. And they switch the actor out, and then like a crew member comes into the movie. But yeah, those sort of jokes always get me.
It's hilarious.
I got my shorts twisted. Yeah, it's good.
Because Mel Brooks, after this, like I'm trying to think about what are like the big movies he did after this. I mean, Men in Tights, but that was. I feel like there was something in between this and Men in Tights, right?
He did some movie, Life Stinks, or something, right? Which I don't know that I've seen. But I don't think it's a riff on anything. Like, it's just a...
Okay.
And then, Robin Hood, Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Robin Hood is another example. Life Stinks was 1991.
Okay.
And then Men in Tights was 1993. Men in Tights, I know for a fact, was not particularly well regarded when it came out.
Yeah, it's one of those things with age where you appreciate how good we had it. I think
I find it hilarious. Yeah.
No, I mean for others, I loved it when it came out. Yeah.
Right, but I mean it's kind of the same thing with Spaceballs, though, right? Like, where is it just that now that people like my point is I haven't seen some kind of effort to reclaim, Dracula Dead and Loving It. Nobody's sticking their neck out for that one, right?
Yeah. This like totally cracked me up as a kid. Here, put her there. Oh, I can't believe you bought it, man. Here, want it back? Whoop. This is the best line of all time.
Because good is dumb.
Yes. Now you see why evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
This is hilarious too, by the way, where he's just doing the flips and everything. That's really funny too.
There's a dated reference. Too bad this isn't the wide world of sports.
Yeah, right?
That's like pre-ESPN. It must have been, right? You know, where you
Yeah.
like maybe for an hour on Saturday there'd be a sports recap show called The Wide World of Sports.
Uh-huh.
Now we got a whole network, or 5 of them.
There's a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to your 2 best friends. That's another funny one.
Actually, I don't know if I got that. Literally till now, or like caught it.
Yeah.
Your 2 best friends. Yeah.
Thank you for pressing the self-destruct button.
This is where the song kicks in, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Where the hell are we, Paris? That joke. I think I say that all the time. That specific siren, you know.
That's really funny. That's one of those jokes too, where it's like it's irreversible. I like my raincoat.
Like my raincoat.
That's one of those jokes where if I will laugh and someone will be like, "Why are you laughing at that?" and I'll be like, "I don't know." Like it just sounds funny. Like my raincoat. Like it's just he's so sincere in saying it. Like I don't even know if it is that funny on its face, but it's hilarious, the execution. And then there's this whole world going on the ship. It's so big. You have these people from the circus and tumblers and people running around in a panic. Oh man! By the way, oh yeah, go ahead. You go first.
I was just real quick. Like I was thinking about how Robin Hood Men in Tights. You know, Bill Pullman and Carrie Elways kind of doing something similar.
Yeah.
They sort of have to react to everything happening around them, and I think that's what makes them funnier. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about this. The pods and the
those pod sequences, the eject, those are actually from Star Wars. They weren't used.
Oh, that's cool. They look great. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, that's why. It's like they were just sitting in a drawer like that right there. That's, you know, from the beginning of Star Wars.
No, it blends right in. You know, I'd read the way they did that was the camera had the camera like facing down toward the ground, and they just dropped the things through the chute. But it, you know, with the lighting and the perspective, it looks like they're being propelled out.
That's brilliant.
Good. Yeah. I remember that line being edited on television. I think I had this recorded off of TV, so I have that sort of unique experience with certain movies where I know the TV version.
Yeah.
This is so stupid, like on a bear.
The bear
trying to put his paws together like a seatbelt. That joke's evergreen, Zachy. That joke's always funny. I love the way that they go to the 3 separate staircases here too.
Yeah. Cancellation button.
So this woman who's doing the self-destruct countdown voice, she's the script supervisor, Julie Pitcairn. I worked with her.
Oh wow. Get out of here.
Yeah, and someone told me one day, even the future, nothing works. I just don't want to talk over this. This is so funny. Like, I just love that. This is like the stuff that cracks you up when people hold each other like that, like sort of Three Stooges style. Oh, and then she misses 7. Just kidding.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah. But anyway, I worked on a movie called Lucky You, and she was the script supervisor, and someone pointed out, yeah, she's the voice at the end of Spaceballs because she worked on that. So I went up to her and I was talking to her about it. It was really surreal.
That's so random. Like she was there, so they had her do it.
I guess maybe she did it on set, being the script supervisor, and they're like, "Hey, that voice is perfect."
Yeah. Wow.
Good explosion too, by the way.
Well, they put those money into the special effects.
Yeah. So okay. Had you seen Planet of the Apes yet?
So I had not seen the movie, but I knew of it, and I knew how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
However, yeah, I definitely did not see the movie until probably at least 2 years after I watched this.
Yeah.
Oh, this right here, the how he got trapped in his limo. He ate himself to death.
Yeah. Pizza Hut. He ate himself to death. Oh yeah, I remember this being really funny. Yeah.
1,000.
5,000. Had 5 happened yet? Probably
No,
not.
that's because Rocky 5 was 1990.
Oh, okay, so that would have been next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's a pretty good matte painting.
I was about to say, I was like, hey, that looks like Planet Planet Alderaan, like we see in the
Yeah.
the prequels.
Yeah. I mean, this it's probably the thing I've repeated myself most on this, but as I'm studying this movie, watching it, like I'm just appreciating the visual or special effects. Like I guess I never really thought about them until now, but they really go a long way in selling the film and the comedy.
Well, it gets to what we've been talking about a lot, which is sort of the ramshackle, thrown together nature of some of these parodies that are made these days. You know?
Yeah.
So like, oh, it's not the Hunger. By the way, did you see the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah, I was going to point that out. Yeah, outside the diner, you can see the Millennium Falcon.
That's right. But when you do like, hey, we're not doing the Hunger Games, we're doing the Starving Games. Get it? You're like, oh boy,
Right.
You're in for some rough sledding over the next 90 minutes. You know.
Right.
Now this joke right here with John Hurt, I think what makes it extra funny to me is that they cast. Oh, I guess we haven't gotten there yet, but like they cast people who look like the Nostromo crew,
right?
And it's one of those things where you're kind of like, is that like, you can kind of right there in the back, you kind of see.
Oh
them
yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like they set up the joke well.
Yes. And especially because your eyes are trained on Hurt.
That's right.
So everyone surrounding him resembles.
See, now this, I had seen Alien by this time.
See, I probably hadn't. I probably was just what is happening?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Like, to me, I got the joke, and I thought it was hilarious because I was like, that's the guy from Alien. Like, I knew that.
I definitely didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know what they were riffing on. Like, this was another, speaking of like sort of cheeky humor when you're a kid and feeling like, ooh, I'm seeing something I shouldn't. Like, this sort of rode that line a little bit for me too, where I was like, I'm watching a comedy, but this is like this is scaring me. You know what I mean? So it was like, but like you were still sort of fascinated and intrigued by it. And then it gets so silly with the alien singing. I'm like, I'm horrified, but he is making me laugh. Like it was like a weird sensation.
So at this point, you had no idea of what Alien was.
No.
Okay.
No.
So then when you watched Alien, because you didn't watch Alien until a while later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I became aware of the moment.
Okay.
At some point, but yeah, I didn't see Alien until much later.
Like, I feel like we saw it together in like 2003.
Yeah, in the theater, yeah. But I'd seen Aliens, weirdly. I'd seen that one already. Like I saw them out of order.
So when you got in Alien, when you got to that scene when John Hurt has that, were you like, oh, that's the same, it's him. Like, did you connect those dots or did you already know?
I'm certain I was aware of the moment already, but I don't think I probably didn't even put it together that they got the actual actor.
Okay.
And by the way, this is one of those things, I don't know if they fixed it later or letterboxing but with the little alien going down the counter, you used to be able to see the track. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Kind of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure where you could see the chain going through the
right.
The thing at the bottom of his bike. But they've since fixed that. But yeah, no, it's good. Good joke. Now I get it. Turn down the money. But you see, it still kind of evokes Star Wars with Han and the money. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
The fortune cookie. I forgot about the fortune cookie.
By the way, I should say that the whole joke about Barf being like chewy, Barf, like I never made that connection until much later.
Oh wow, not till now for me. It's funny too because barf is such like a gross word thing,
Yeah.
but when I see barf, I'm like, oh, barf. Like I completely
We love Barf.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this whole sort of him having to be a prince so he can marry the princess. I'm a prince. It's good.
I'm an honest to goodness prince, or whatever he says.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the fuel thing. And then, doesn't he do like the like
May the
what a world,
be with you.
or like the witch, right?
Yeah.
What a world!
What a world.
Yeah. Which Judge Doom does too when he melts.
He says, "What a world."
He says he's doing the witch thing.
I know
And
he's
like,
doing that.
What a world! What a world!
I didn't realize he says that. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Skidding through the.
John Candy also, like, I mean, gosh, we've talked about him in
Yeah, how have we not talked about him?
We haven't talked about him very much in this. Yeah, I mean, he makes it look so effortless, right?
Yes.
Doesn't have to do a ton, but you can always count on him to get you to laugh, you know?
Man, he's just one of those guys. Yeah, effortless. That is exactly it. Yep. Just his chuckle is, kind of he's a guy who has a twinkle in his eye, just you cannot help but love him.
That's right.
So yeah, here we go.
This gag, like, the great thing about this is that at the time it was relatively current because the original Planet of the Apes was only 19 years old at that time.
Whoa.
Right? Like it wasn't that old, you know?
Wow. What was that, 2004 to today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it was within people's frame of reference. Definitely for me, at the time I saw this movie, like I hadn't seen, because my first when I watched the Planet of the Apes, the film for the first time, I had watched the cartoon show. That was my entree, and I saw that like fall of '87. So I probably saw this, and then shortly after I saw the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's my recollection. So either way, the end of the movie of Planet of the Apes would have been ruined for me by this.
Right. Yeah, I wish I could remember if I got it or not. I don't know. It was just funny because it was so like, oh, they landed on a planet of apes, and the apes aren't happy to see them.
But I feel like you would have at least heard of Planet of the Apes.
It's
right?
likely. It's likely. I don't know. The makeup looks pretty good though, right?
I think so. It's in the same vein as some of the later films. Yeah.
Right.
Holy moly!
Yeah. It's kind of funny too that they go with this sort of old fairy tale look too, right?
Yeah.
With all the people it doesn't look very space-like.
No.
In this chapel.
It's probably cheaper. You have to figure.
You know what? You're totally right. They'd have to create all the costumes. I
get all these costumes.
Didn't even think about it.
From the storage locker.
Yeah. Well, that's really funny. Except you got to have a space-looking groom, and this is apparently what they came up with.
That's right.
Space Elvis. Wait, I'm just looking at Candy, and I heard it in my head. We passed this, right? Like, I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
We passed it a while ago. I'm my own best friend, yeah.
Great.
I love this here. Bartholomew.
Yes, that's right.
Bartholomew. That's so great.
Yeah. I feel like this was kind of a thing for a while too, like a trope with like the officiant at a wedding getting kind of short tempered and be like, all right, we gonna do this thing or not?
Well, I feel like it came from this, right?
Maybe, yeah, I guess.
I think this originated the trope.
Yeah, but it's like it was like a thing you saw, right? I feel like familiar with that.
Sure. Goodbye, Virgin Alarm.
Wow, is that it?
The end.
Wow. Wait, what's his bumper sticker?
It said,
"Was I break for nobody" or something?
No,
or that's on the Spaceballs ship.
That's it. On this, I didn't pay attention to the bumper sticker is on Spaceball 1.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So what's the verdict, my friend, on Spaceballs?
I mean, it's a classic. I will always be endeared to this, but nostalgia and everything. But like to my mind, this still holds up. I think this would still make, if your kids were to have a sleepover, having seen Star Wars, watch this together, I can imagine them giggling through this whole thing.
I think a lot of the humor is timeless. Some of it is rooted in that era, but even the stuff that is sort of temporally locked down, I think there's enough around the joke to make you laugh at the execution.
Yeah.
And that was my experience because I watched this not aware of a lot of the pop culture references, but
right.
It made me chuckle. Made me chuckle then, made me chuckle now.
Yep. Even watching it with the sound off, I mean, it just cracks me up. So many, and that's the thing too. Sometimes you watch a comedy and you're sort of waiting for like that one set piece gag. You kind of chuckle throughout, but like I feel like this has several iconic big gags, and then there's all this funny patter in between that still makes you giggle. So I think pound for pound, it's a really solid comedy.
I think that it's certainly a throwback to a style of movie humor that you don't really see very much of anymore, which is a shame. Because I think the fact that it can still make you chuckle so many decades out, that says something about what Mel Brooks was able to achieve and sort of his just innate skill at finding the joke, finding the laugh. I think that's what makes this movie hold up.
I would love to see deleted scenes.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the DVD or anything, but I'm curious if there are any.
The only other thing I'll mention is I'm on the Wikipedia page, and it talks about John Hurt's cameo, and it says he's parodying his character Gilbert Kane's death in the film Alien, and I'm like, Gilbert? His first name is Gilbert? I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah, damn.
So there's your bonus trivia there.
Yeah.
With that, if you have any thoughts about Spaceballs or our commentary track for Spaceballs, please let us know your thoughts. You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. As always, if you have any commentary track requests, let us know. And if you like what we're doing, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, leave a star rating. If you're looking for me online, you can find me on social media at Zaki's Corner. That's ZAKIS Corner. And I'm also at the San Francisco Chronicle, where you can read my reviews and write-ups, as well as at IGN and also The Wrap. What about you, Brian?
Episodes of Young Jedi Adventures are out in your universe. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, you can watch those at Disney Plus and Disney Junior.
Perfect. And with that, on behalf of my partner Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been our movie film commentary for Spaceballs. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you next time.